Hold on. This is for me for editing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Teachers Talk Sports. I'm Johnny McGee, joined as always by my guy, Brian F. Fenema. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I do very well. And how do you do?
Oh, I guess you get away with that.
I'm allowed. I'm allowed.
I'm doing quite well myself. I just went to the grocery store the day before Thanksgiving, and get this, pretty busy.
This is weird because Thanksgiving is usually not very busy of a holiday. You know, usually people just kind of stay indoors, don't see their family, and then it's probably just something weird going on in the air where it was just happened to be busy. Yeah, that's weird. I've never thought that maybe the day before Thanksgiving you'd be busy in the grocery store.
That's what I chalked it up to as well. And also not a single green bean in sight. So that was a bit of a bummer.
Well, I got to tell you, it's not like I'm that much more proactive than you are. We went yesterday, but granted, we did Quick List on Sunday. And per usual with Quick List, you know, they forget essential things. So I had to go into the grocery store anyway. But it was not busy at all. I went at 8:30 in the morning because, you know, we had conferences yesterday.
That's right.
Couldn't miss any of my important conferences. So, yeah. But I got everything taken care of. But,
good for you.
Tomorrow is the day that we give thanks.
Sure is. Well, a couple things that I'm thankful for, a few things we're going to be talking about on the show today. We're going to get into the Blazers offseason moves, which we're all real excited about over here in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to hop into a Western Conference outlook and then just look around the league at large and see what we're seeing out there, see if there's anything that we like or hate. There certainly is, and a lot of people have been talking about a lot of the things. I got a couple of things I'd like to share that you're not hearing on every single media outlet. But of course, I also want to hate on Gordon Hayward a little bit at the end. So, so let's hop into it with the Blazers.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like it all happened 35 years ago because I spent like 8 hours a day reading about it. But really, it's only been a few days since the Blazers made so many amazingly exciting and entertaining moves.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about of the moves?
Well, it's crazy because you said it feels like it's been weeks, but we were just doing this like a week ago to the hour, and you know, Rocco, that had already happened, so that's exciting. That's the thing I'm most excited about, obviously. But I just like the versatility that the roster construction has given the Blazers. You know, to flip a guy in Mario into Ennis, someone that people dreaded seeing on the court, to someone that we absolutely loved. Like, I thought that was a really big deal last year, Ennis going to Boston. And deep down, I knew he would make his way back because he loves this city. He loved the organization, loved playing for it. Yes, I know Ennis is not a perfect player, but good. He is a great backup center. And that's exactly what we need. He can score. He'll work on the rebounding. I know this is probably a hot take. Sorry, y'all. He's better at defense than Hassan Whiteside. So just because their stats are not the same does not make him a lesser defender, because he does not do the foolish things that Hassan, who still is unemployed, can bring. But I'm excited about Ennis. Derrick Jones Jr. is exciting because he's like that first above the rim player that the Blazers have had in years. Like, we just don't have guys that are just true leapers. And so that's exciting. I really like it. I would have loved to have Wenyen back. I know you're on the exact same boat as me.
Definitely. I'm sad about him leaving.
We loved what that kid brought. I love the tools. I think Wenyen has a chance to be somebody, but I don't know. I think his best opportunity was to stay in Portland and really shine here. And that's kind of a bummer. And
did he go to New Orleans, or was it Charlotte?
I think New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that he got a contract. You know? But yeah, I'll miss Wenyen. We all loved him, and it wasn't just us. And like, a lot of people around Portland were into that guy. And you know, it's just, I think that for one goes to show how great of a kid he was, but also goes to show just how starved for wings the Blazers and Blazers fans have been until now. Yeah, I'm super excited about Derrick Jones Jr. For one, just because at the end of the day, basketball is an entertainment product.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy, I literally teared up watching his highlights. He is tremendous, like one of the best athletes in the entire league, and just
an incredible length too.
on YouTube, if you watch his top dunks of the 2018-19 season, so not last year, but the year before, the very first one, that alley-oop from Bam to him, where Bam just throws it in transition, and it's like his arm is above the top of the backboard when he goes up there and gets it. It's amazing. I temper my expectations with him on the court just a little bit because, as other people have pointed out, he couldn't crack that rotation for Miami in the postseason that last year. Now, they had a lot of real wings on top of him in Crowder and Butler and Iguodala, among others. He's only 23. His shooting numbers are not great, and I know that you're not gonna lose any sleep over that. But they've been getting a little bit better. I'm really hopeful that he could at least become something of a threat from the corners. But sort of what we've done here in adding Derrick Jones Jr. and Robert Covington is basically we just have a better version of Mo Harkless and Chief Aminu, who brought us to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. And now we have Covington, who's clearly better than Chief across the board, and Derrick Jones Jr., who I think will be better than Harkless. So it's nice to have realized we really missed those guys last year and just their defense and versatility. So I'm glad that Neil realized that and went out and got better versions of each.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. Mo took a 1 year, $3 million deal or something like that. So that was kind of weird because it's Miami. Yeah. And we as Blazers fans kind of put these dudes on pedestals, and then all of a sudden they'll get their next contract and they just kind of disappear into the ether. And I mean, it kind of happened with Mo last year. He started with the Clippers and made his way to New York. I don't even know where he finished, but it was just weird because I really thought that Mo was a player. I know his main thing was not about physical ability or skills. I think it seemed more to be up top because of some frustrations in playoff outings. And so that was tough to see, but I'm about it. Like you said, Derrick Jones Jr. is just not going to be asked to carry any kind of load offensively. I think he's just going to be kind of one of those guys who's an energy guy, who can come in and give you a couple of wild plays a game and rebound and just use his length to disrupt things on defense. And I like that. I think these are all pluses, and it's not something where it's like, hey, we need you to come off the bench and score, because we now have some scoring. I mean, Rodney's going to come off the bench and score.
Yep.
Carmelo is going to come off the bench and score. And
I can't believe. I mean, it seems like the people that are in that building every day are stoked about the transaction of bringing Melo back. So I'm sure they know something culturally that we don't quite know just on the outside looking in. But I must admit, I was a little upset when we brought him back because it's just like, man, so that means he's going to take minutes away from some of these other guys. When I would rather see Jones get that extra 5 minutes. I'd rather see Covington have an extra 5 minutes. I'd rather see Nas see the floor sometimes. But he hit big shots for us in big games, so you can't take that away from him. And I've been listening to all these interviews of the guys coming in for the team, like Derrick Jones Jr. and Harry Giles, and Melo's one of the first guys that they all talk about. So I guess there's something to him culturally. He seems like a great guy, but man, he's just such a stopper. It's like it's kind of painful to watch.
I mean, these are the things that I've been telling you for a long time, and I know
I've come over to your side.
Okay. I was going to say it's been a slow transition, but I don't understand how it's just like everybody against me. Like, I don't understand what this city sees in him. Like, I'm just getting into debate after debate after debate with these people in the comment section because they just are so enthralled by like guys, let's just dial it back. Okay, so here's the conversation that I've had multiple times with my buddy Joe Gray. Joe, you're a maniac. I love you so much. We've talked about when you are of a certain age, you just don't change. Men do not change. Johnny, you and I are not going to change who we are at our ages. We have already molded and become who we are, okay? So, Joe, Dwight Howard is not going to change. Joe, DeMarcus Cousins is not going to change.
I was wondering if we would have some Cousins takes.
Joe Gray, Carmelo Anthony, and everyone else out there is not going to change. So maybe this is more on me where I need to accept Carmelo's not going to change. He's not going to take that he's not going to take this new role. Like, that's the thing is I was getting into a disagreement with a guy in the comment section yesterday on the Blazers page, and we believed the same thing. But like our opinion is the exact same. His opinion was, though, since he could turn into a malcontent, they need to start Carmelo Anthony. I'm like, what madness have we become where it's like, hey, for the betterment of his feelings, we need to start Carmelo Anthony. Here's the path to success for Carmelo. He comes off the bench. CJ gets his first win at about the 4-minute mark. He comes out. Melo's the first guy in. Put him with Rodney, and then put him with Ennis, and that's plenty of scoring. But do not expect to put this guy in the starting lineup where we have scorers in every position. And the necessity of Zach, we got to come to a point somewhere in that building. Whose pride is more important? Neil O'Shea's, because he's not going to just give up on Zach, or Carmelo Anthony's. And I think that's where it's going to be. And I don't think that notoriously Neil has been a like stick to one lineup kind of guy traditionally. We might see a lot of different lineups, especially within a condensed season. But I don't see it, dude. And I know everyone who listens to me and understands my opinion about him is not like shocked by anything I'm giving you right now. But
well, here's
give the minutes to the young guys. Yeah,
here's my concern with the lineup that you just threw out there, and so it's kind of pushback, but I also imagine that you won't. Well, here it is. So you said you want to see him out there with Dame, Rodney, Melo, Cantor,
and then maybe even Rocco still.
Okay, well, if Rocco, that's nice, but that lineup is terrible defensively.
Defensively, I know.
That is an absolute sieve.
Which is like, is that different?
I think the only way you could play Melo is if Melo's your 4, Nurkic is your 5, Rocco or DJJ is your 3. Like and maybe if Trent is your 2. Like he's so bad defensively that you can't play him in a lineup with Cantor and Hood. That's why I really don't like it, because I just think that what he brings offensively doesn't counterbalance the fact that he is taking minutes from guys who I just would rather see play, and B is he's taking minutes from guys that are way better defensively, which we learned last year really matters. Defense, being a Blazers fan last year was hard because defense matters, and we are horrible at it, and Melo was part of that. So
yeah, dude, and it's not like it's anything that's going to change anyone's opinion on it. And you said, like, and this is what I keep getting as the pushback. Well, Carmelo hit a lot of big shots in the bubble. Okay, Johnny. There were 2 instances where he hit a big shot. There were also 2 incidences the games next where he couldn't hit the side of a barn. Like, everyone remembers he got 2 threes that were massive in the overtime against Memphis. And then I believe he went about 3 for 17 the next game. It's like, this is not something that it's like, oh, okay, well, he hit a lot of big shots. It's just ingrained in everyone's brain that he just like hit a couple of big shots. Carmelo did us nice. He did. He played well in the bubble. He was rested. If that same Melo comes back, cool. I will be like, you know what? He ended up being a plus, but he needs to keep his attitude in check. He needs to understand what his role is. And I'm not going to have this conversation with other people where if they want to move him to the bench, he needs to come off the damn bench.
Well, we're kind of getting into the weeds here, but I personally love it. Like I want to get even just a little bit further into the weeds here. Who do you see as our starters, and how do you see minutes rotations going? Like, we know Dame and CJ, they're going to get 35, 36 minutes a night. Wish that they would play less. But who do you see starting at the 3? Is it Derrick Jones Jr.? Is it Hood?
No. I mean, I don't think that this is much of a debate. It's Dame, CJ, Rocco, Zach, Yusuf. I think
so Zach's out. Zach's out until mid-January. So starting opening day, who's the starting lineup?
So then that's the thing. They're going to throw Melo in there at the 4. And it depends. It depends on who it's. And that's another thing is people are like, oh, well, you could just play the 4. Let us not forget that all of a sudden size is back to mattering again. Like there was an admiration for 2 years where it's like, oh, size does not matter. Size matters when you have Denver and LA in your conference. They're big. They're bigger teams, and they're going to throw bigs at us, and we cannot have Carmelo at the 4. So, yes, Carmelo will have a couple.
Carmelo defend? I'm more worried about him defending 3s than 4s. And also, I want to push back a little because I think everything that I've heard and seen is that Rocco's at his most helpful at the 4. He's best at the 4. So I'm hoping that he's starting as our power forward, which maximizes his ability to, because from everything I've heard, he's not a tremendous on-ball defender. He's an absolutely elite team defender. So if he's playing back in the 4, he's able to get deflections, get in the passing lanes, and cause havoc, and he could block a bunch of shots back there. Well, so I'm hoping it goes Dame, CJ. I'm not sure about the 3.
Rod.
Nurk. It would be fun if it was Derek Jones Jr., but I guess that's I'm worried about having 2 guys that are not great shooters in our starting lineup in Jones Jr. and Nurkic versus if you have Hood, but then I kind of want Hood's creation skills off of the bench. So I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is Zach will get back, and that's when it'll become very interesting is what
let's play Zach's back. So you want Zach at the 4 and Rocco at the 3.
Absolutely. 10 out of 10 times. I mean, every single day. If we could stay healthy, that should be the starting 5 for the entire season. And then Rodney, first guy off the bench. Then Gary. Then Derek Jones. Then Carmelo. Then Ennis. I mean, that's a fun thing. Is list all those guys. Depth. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, the first person off the bench will probably be, they'll probably bring in 2 guys because CJ always gets his first win. He's always the first guy off. So CJ and then Nurk will probably be the first guys out. Nurk or Zach, depending on who's in foul trouble that day. But I mean, either way, there's versatility. But you and I had this conversation before that they brought Carmelo back, and just to put a bow on the Carmelo talk, because I mean, we could just go back and forth about it because I guess he's just that polarizing, and that's what this comes from, maybe. But you clearly laid out like what you think the rotation should look like, and there was no room for Carmelo in there. But they're going to throw him in. And there's going to be times where, like last year, where the second unit's in and you're just kind of like, is Gary going to be the only guy who can bail us out? But, it's a good problem to have. Let's not sugarcoat or let's not get too upset about this. This is a good problem to have, and have scoring off the bench as long as it's situational in team ball. We're in a good shape. We as the Blazers. I agree. It's simple.
And we got 9 or 10 real NBA players on the team, which is awesome. It's awesome for starting the season when you're all healthy. It helps for the potential for injuries. It's the deepest team that Dame has played on since it's been his team, like since LaMarcus left.
Yep.
And it's just so versatile because Derek Jones Jr. can defend 2 through 4. Covington can defend 3, 4, and sometimes even 5. And it's really exciting. A question that I have is Anthony Simons. Yeah. We're asking him to be our backup point guard. I'm wondering, does that mean are we going to stagger Dame and CJ, or do we really believe that Anthony Simons can step in there and lead the offense for the second unit? Or is it going to be Rodney?
Well, that's the thing it's not just Rodney, but Gary also has some ball handling in him as well. And so that's the thing is, the Blazers are going to be very similar to the way that they've been the past 3 seasons. There's very little time where they're both off the court together. And I think the focus on not having them both off the court at all this season is going to come into a really bright light because of the fact that we don't know what to expect with Anthony. But I think that Rodney and Gary will carry some of that load as technically the backup point guard. But going fullback, this team has depth, but more than anything, since Dame has been here, this is the most versatile team that the Blazers have had. And that's something that a lot of people just are kind of poo-pooing, and that's fine. That's fine. You know how it is. We always want people sleeping on us. And this team has the talent, top end and middle end, to be a 3, 4, 5 seed in the West. I really believe that with all my heart. I mean, I don't think that that's too homerous. They did the best for their roster completion, and they've won free agency so far, I think.
I mean, they're certainly one of the clear winners in my opinion. I mean, the West is going to be a bloodbath. And I mean, I've been saying that for essentially my entire life as a sports fan, like since I was 10 years old. But oh my goodness, with the exception of like maybe a couple of teams, the Thunder. The Thunder, thank you. Yeah, with the exception of like maybe the Thunder, every team is like a real team. Maybe the Kings, but like the top, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Mavs, the Jazz, the Denver, like it's just like the West is going to be a bloodbath. So in terms of winners, I think you were arguing with your buddy Joe Gray about this, but the Lakers, they got better.
I don't think I'm not ready to just pencil that in that they got better.
All right, let's have this argument then.
This is okay. So this is weird. Like they have been universally crowned already, and I like some of their moves. Like I like the Gasol thing, but I also don't like what I saw from him. I miss thick Marc Gasol. Like he lost 100 pounds over quarantine or something like that. He looks like a different person. And they didn't get any younger. I love Schroeder. I've always loved him. He's a great player, and he provides slashing and shooting, which they desperately needed. But it's like Montrez. This is a guy that Lakers fans have talked hella trash about for the past few years. And then now all of a sudden he's wearing a different color jersey in the same city. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, maybe he can play crunch time basketball all of a sudden. It's like, no, we know who this guy is. I mean, I'm not that into it. I really am not. Schroeder's going to be nice, but this team, I don't know anything what to expect as far as chemistry wise. Like, it's just, there's some weird pieces. I don't know. I mean, I just am not like in the like, oh, here, I'll just accept that the Lakers are just that much better club. I'm not. And they are the team that most needs to stay healthy because they don't have a lot of young bodies on that roster. So they're still the favorite, obviously, and that's fine. But I'm not just like going to go, all right, yep, just hand them the trophy. They are not. Let me be very clear with you all. They are not on the level of defending champions as another team that we talk about a lot on this podcast. Just saying.
So listen, Schroeder is an enormous upgrade over Rondo.
Yes.
There's no denying that.
Yes.
They've traded out Dwight and JaVale to rim-running, athletic, defensive-minded bigs for Harrell and Gasol. Okay. I can understand why you don't want to crown those moves, but especially in a season that's being rushed back and LeBron's old, the fact that they got Harrell to come in there and play big regular season minutes, I think is an underrated deal. I mean, he's not an underrated deal. Everyone's talking about him. But the fact that he'll be able to eat up huge regular season minutes and be able to rest LeBron and AD a little bit more because of it, because he brings offensive firepower, I think that's an underrated aspect of the move. Yeah, Gasol looked cooked in the bubble. So maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves there. Wes Matthews for Green is a bit of a lateral move.
I love Wes, but I mean, Lakers fans 1 calendar year ago were like, oh, Danny Green is the best shooter of all time. Yeah. Everyone knows that. So, okay, all of a sudden because he missed a game-winning shot, he's no longer that good of a shooter. And Wes is a good shooter. Wes is a good body. Wes is a great athlete. I'm never going to say anything bad about Wesley Matthews, but to just be like, oh, well, Wes is an upgrade over Danny Green.
He's not an upgrade. He's a lateral move, in my opinion. They brought KCP back. They brought Markieff Morris back, who I know you don't like, but they brought him back on a minimum, even though his brother got 4 years, $64 million from the Clippers. He juiced those fools. But I think that it's fair to say that the Lakers, they look good. I mean, I don't know what to say. I think that Schroeder's a huge deal. I think that Harrell's a huge deal. But they've changed their identity just a little bit, swapping out those bigs, offense for defense. But
yeah,
they're going to be tough to beat. The Lakers are going to be tough to beat.
Absolutely, and they're shipping 2 boneheads off for a mature adult in Gasol. But it's just like I'm very, very, very interested to see how the chemistry works out. It seems like a weird group of personalities. Like that's what it is for me. And like, I don't know. I mean, but part of this is coming from the Lakers are not this team that should be casting that big of a shadow over all the rest of the league. Okay. Because there are teams that are in the come up. We've already talked about some of them. The West is very, very stacked. There are not any gimmies. There's not. And it's just like, I don't even, is Oklahoma City a gimme? I don't know. I like the Kings' trajectory. It's not going to come this year, but it's going to start. Mm-hmm. It's going to start going up. Golden State is not a team that you just write off because they still have champions and they still have winners, and they're going to be tough on teams. It's just like I just am not into this narrative about what has actually gone on this offseason. And to be honest, the moves out east, I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to do any kind of damage against the teams in the West. So it's really cute, Charlotte. You guys are so cute. I can't wait to not watch a single Charlotte game the entire year.
Yeah, I hate what Charlotte did. I hate what Charlotte did.
It started on draft night. It started on draft night.
LaMelo Ball giving Gordon Hayward $120 million. I mean, it's been covered, but not only did they do that, the real like mind-blowing, head-scratching part of that whole thing is that they're doing this at the tail end of that terrible Nick Batum contract. And instead of having the $27 million expiring deal, they stretched him out for $9 million. So that means that in order to make room for their new horrible deal, they have to pay $9 million each year. So they're essentially paying $40 million a year for Gordon freaking Hayward. Mm-hmm. Why? Just to maybe compete for the 8th seed? Which also brings me to the Atlanta Hawks. I hate the way that they're doing things.
This is so great.
Why?
This is so great.
This young stud, why do you have to put so much pressure to make the playoffs now? Really, you want to give old, injured Danilo Gallinari, who I wouldn't have I wanted him for a good team like the Blazers, but
yes,
you want to give old, aging, injured Danilo Gallinari $60 million for 3 years?
Ooh.
You want to give Rondo $15 million? Rondo's good for a team like the Lakers. For the Hawks?
He's going to eat them up.
What really confuses me about what the Hawks did, and this is a minor move, but why did they give Rondo 2 for 15 and Chris Dunn 2 for 10 on a team that has Trae Young? I would understand Chris Dunn and not Rondo because Dunn's an elite defender, but why? Where does Rondo fit in here? And then the Bogey deal's not bad. It feels like a shame that he's not going to Milwaukee.
Yeah,
but I just hate the whole idea of shooting to be mediocre. It's just like in the NBA, you either want to be elite, you want to be at the top, or you want to be at the bottom. If you're shooting for the middle, you're just going to stay there. And if I was a fan of one of those teams, especially Charlotte, I mean, the Hawks, you could talk yourself into Trae Young. He's fun. But if I was a fan of one of those teams, I would just be so upset.
Okay, so this is really, really funny because I started my morning off with Joe. So Joe, who you would love, and he loves you. You guys are quite the bromance buddy. He started today with, tell me about Phoenix, Atlanta, and Charlotte. So the fact that you brought him up is actually even better. You know, Atlanta, the reason he likes him is because living in Alabama, Atlanta is apparently his closest team. So he really likes their moves. I like their moves. I don't like the stretching of the money, like the amount of money that they're doing it. And like for them, I think that they are at that point where they're like, hey, we could take another little step. And it's like, they are right here and the Blazers are right here. And we've always been happy with being right here. So maybe that's just something that their fan base needs is to just be competitive, which is fine. But overpaying for everybody, it doesn't necessarily scream excitement for me, but at least it gives them versatility. And they went from the absolute worst defensive team around to now like, okay, you know, at least they brought in a couple guys with a little bit of length and size. So like I can see it. I can really see it. But, you know, I just Atlanta, Charlotte, I'm not going to catch a single Charlotte game. I'm sorry. Like there's nothing about that roster that screams excitement. And I have been a Gordon Hayward apologist for years. But we can't predict what's going to happen after you come off of a couple of injuries that he has. And so we just don't know. The stretching of Batum is just like, wow. Like I could have
like the worst part. It's like
you could have told me before last year, hey man, Nick Batum retired. I'm like, yeah, it sounds about right. And this is another guy in the Wesley Matthews, Pat Connaughton, Nick Batum, like the guys who leave Portland. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to miss him so much. And then they disappear into the ether. You could have told me he retired before last season. I'm like, yeah, makes sense. And now they're stretching it for an extra 2. It's like, I don't know what's going on. But
He's only 31. I honestly, I haven't watched him play since he left, but I feel like he probably could help a good team. He's only 31. He didn't forget how to shoot. He's still big and long. Bring him on a minimum deal. I mean,
yeah, but why do that when they just get to continue to stretch your money? It's just, you're right. He could have been a nice.
Well, he could have
been a nice trade target. Like, he would have been really nice with that expiring contract. It's just, the moves around the league.
I want to give you a team that I sneakily like that no one's talking about, and they didn't really do anything, but that's why I like it. The New York Knicks. They didn't go do something stupid. And to me, that's a real up for them. Usually they're out there chasing, trying to give Julius Randle the freaking farm. And, they didn't give Hayward $120 million. They didn't give Gallo $60 million. They didn't trade for Westbrook. All that they did was they had a draft that I actually like. I know you don't like Toppin, but I think he has potential to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. They got Emmanuel Quickley, who I like. He's a long guard who could shoot the lights out. Elfrid Payton back on a reasonable deal. And they have tons of money open next year. And it's not like they're going to do anything this year whatsoever, but at least I just hate teams that are shooting for the middle. So I'm glad that the Knicks at least realized, hey, let's just kind of suck, but not go out there and get Russell Westbrook and maybe squeak into the 8th seed.
Here's something that I think we could probably set into motion today. Get Johnny in charge of the New York Knicks marketing team. Print the t-shirts. Hey guys, we didn't completely blow it.
I mean, the expectations are just so low.
This is where we are with the New York Knicks over the last 10, 15 years. It's like, hey guys, we didn't blow it. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I love to see it. Like I said, and I made an honest statement to Joe earlier, and I'll say it to you. I don't care about the East. I really don't. I'm sure Miami will be fun. Who knows what to think of Milwaukee? Who knows about the Raptors? But it's just I'm not that excited about it. And everything good is happening out west, where it's going to be an absolute dogfight every single night. Yeah. And we talked about it. There's those 7 teams that you feel pretty comfortable just kind of penciling them in. But that's part of it. I feel comfortable penciling in Memphis just because I love their young core. But it's just it's going to be such an insane fight to watch. New Orleans, Memphis, Golden State, who I think a lot of people are still sleeping on, Phoenix. Who knows what happens with Houston? But there's and Sacramento is not going to be an easy out night in, night out either. So it's fun. And for me, I would rather just sit here and be like, cool. At least I know where my team's going.
So Jaren Jackson Jr. is out indefinitely still. That he's one of those guys.
Hate it.
He's one of those guys who's getting hurt by this quick restart. I also just wanted to mention when we were talking about the Blazers, I'm slightly concerned about CJ McCollum. He had the broken back spinal, and he played through it, but he's one of those guys who maybe is going to be harmed a little bit by this quick rush back. But
sure.
So this is how I have my West. I want to hear, you probably will push back some places. But
in order, you're going to give it to me in order?
In tiers, yeah.
Okay. Oh, in tiers. Got it.
So I think that tier 1 is clearly the Lakers, and I think they're there by themselves. It's okay if you disagree. We've already been through that. I think that tier 2, I honestly still think the Clippers are a slight cut above the rest of the next pack. I mean, they lost Harrell, but he was unplayable in the playoffs. They swapped him out for Ibaka. I think that's actually a plus. Mm-hmm. They overpaid Marcus Morris, and then they swapped out Shamet for Kennard, which is at least lateral, if not a little bit of a plus. I
don't like that move. I don't know what they're doing there.
They're about the same. But so I have Lakers, Clippers, tier 1, tier 2. Then here's my tier 3. I have Blazers, Mavericks, Jazz, Nuggets, and Warriors. They're all right there. And then my tier below that, I have the Suns, the Rockets with an asterisk, and the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Spurs, Kings, Pelicans, and I want to talk a little bit about the Pelicans, but before I do that, what do you think of these tiers? Where would you push back?
I don't think that the 2 LA teams are on completely different tiers than that next one. I think Denver has earned their way up to that tier 2, even though they lost Jeremy Grant, who we love. Mm-hmm. They lost Plumlee, who we've always liked. I still think Denver has the versatility and depth to kind of cause them problems. And, I don't see the Clippers being in a different level than Denver or even the Blazers and maybe even Utah. So that's my only pushback is maybe what you consider the second tier. But I think, yes, that the Lakers are on a different tier. They really are. And until somebody can prove otherwise, or, we figure out what happens with health and rest, I think that the Lakers are going to be fine. They really will. But I think that the gap is not quite what I feel the media is painting right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting in Denver to see. They lost Jeremy Grant, and it's such a weird situation where they were going to offer him the same money that Detroit offered him to play a role that makes way more sense for him, but he decided he wanted to take the same amount of money to just have a bigger offensive role. I get it. It makes sense, I guess, but I wouldn't do that. He was perfectly suited for that team. They're going to pay him $20 million to do it.
That was interesting.
The Mavericks, the Mavericks went out and got Josh Richardson for Seth Curry, who probably makes a little more sense. He brings a little more defense. He could shoot as well, not like Curry, but he could shoot. The Warriors, of course, with Clay. That hurts. That's sad.
It sucks.
I might have the Suns a tier low. I'm just not as stoked on them as everybody else is. It's whatever.
They brought in our guy Jay Crowder, which it's a nice little move.
They did. It's nice. But the Pelicans are one that I just at least in the short term, I don't really understand their philosophy. It kind of just seems like, hey, we have a generational talent whose one deficiency is he can't shoot at all. So we're going to make sure and surround him by only guys that can't shoot. We're going to go get Jackson Hayes. We're going to go get Steven Adams. We're going to make sure we could sign Eric Bledsoe. I know that long term, a lot of those guys they'll be able to move off of by the time Zion's really ready to peak. But it just in the short term, it doesn't feel like to me that they're really trying to set him up for maximum success.
I think that New Orleans is probably playing the long game and not the short game, and I understand that, and that's fine, But I felt like that they had a pretty decent core, and then they they gave Ingram a max deal, which is fine. So, but it's like, I don't know. I think that they're kind of just cautiously punting this year and going to continue to build through the draft, but I don't love anything that they've done, but they're going to be a scrappy team. They're going to be a feisty team, and they're not going to be one of those teams that you can just pencil in as a W. And I think that's the theme of the West.
That's the theme of the West, no doubt. Yeah, and you're right. I much more support the Pelicans strategy of like moving off of Holiday, getting an obscene amount of picks and playing for the future over like what the Hornets or the Hawks are doing. But it's just like, it seems to me that instead of getting Steven Adams, maybe like try to get Aaron Baines or like just get like an equivalent guy that can shoot. But they're not playing for right now, so it's fine.
Yeah. No way we look at it. There's still a couple moves that need to be done, but 90% of rosters are already filled out. So there's really only a couple guys. And it'll be interesting to continue to move forward. But, man, that December 22nd is going to creep up on us quick. It's less than a month away. And it's pretty exciting. And we'll continue to get in the lab. We'll continue to talk them. And I think that we're at the point now where we can just be open and honest and tell everybody, listen, guys, we need your help. We are at the point where we are now on YouTube. And it's really, really easy to find us. It's on my channel. My name is Brian Fenema. All you have to do is go to the channel. You see this face. You see that face. What more do you want? Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. And then we'll continue to put out bomb content for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself, my guy.
Well, we got a really exciting stuff going on. This week's going to be crazy, dude. Like, it's nice to take a couple of days off and not have to worry about anything. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that your conferences were great. Mine were.
They were.
Mine went really, really well. So
happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive. Hey, shout out to the Fenema family. I miss you guys. I really, really wish I could be with you. It's going to be really, really hard over the next few days to not be in Tucson, Arizona. It sucks not being able to see the little ones too. But hey, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. It's gonna be all good. And there's gonna be a lot to talk about. Football is still ramping up. We're gonna continue with the basketball content. Obviously, that's what y'all want to hear. So spread some of that optimism that we have, y'all. We love this team, and I cannot wait until we tip it off. I'm really, really excited about this team.
So stoked. I mean, I'm like literally counting down the days. I cannot wait to watch this extremely versatile, athletic, fun team with another year of Dame and CJ. Yeah. Dame gets better every single year. I can't wait. He's going to be bombing from half court regularly. It's going to be fun. Tune in.
Absolutely. We're in good hands, and there's a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. The rosters will continue to complete. We'll talk about that. We'll start next week with that. And then I guess all we got left next week's show, I think we got to make some predictions and kind of do a season outlook for a couple of their squads. How does that sound, pal?
That sounds wonderful to me.
Man, we got a good thing going, y'all. Spread the love.
Spread the love. Stay safe out there.
All right, buddy. Hey, great work today.
Good job.
You did a really great job, buddy.
Right back at you.
All right, my dude. Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays, everyone.
Might be able to see this week. Who knows?
I hope so.
All right. Good job. Later.